Welcome in, everybody, to the Fairgrounds Racing Podcast. My name is Chad Schexnayder. Happy New Year 2022. We kicked off the new year with episode 7 of season 2 of this podcast, and we welcome in a special guest to do that as trainer Cherie DeVaux is here. Happy New Year, Cherie.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you.
How has New Orleans treated you so far since you've been back here?
So far, it's been really great. Weather's been wonderful. The horses are all doing well, so can't complain.
This is, we were talking a little bit earlier, this is your third winter at the Fairgrounds, correct?
This is second winter.
Second winter at the Fairgrounds. You have, back in Barn 30, you have about 26 to 30 horses, I guess, back there?
Yeah, right around 30.
What type of horses you got back there right now? Is it a bunch with conditions, some maidens, just kind of everything all around?
We have a lot of maidens, allowance horses, stakes horses, a few claimers, but mostly maiden allowance and stakes horses.
And we talked earlier, too, about you could be running back up to Kentucky here in a week or so to go check out some of the, is there some babies up there, or are you running at Turfway? And I know you got some at Keeneland as well.
Yeah, we have a handful at Keeneland on Rice Road. So go and check on the stable up there, and they're for the sales as well. As
the story goes, so you went out on your own in the spring of 2018, obviously not knowing there'd be a pandemic around the corner, but has it been what you expected it to be so far? And has that kind of been the biggest challenge, is the whole COVID thing, or did you expect different challenges as you got into starting your training career?
Really, it's gone as we set out to do. So in 2018, when I went on my own, I didn't have any clients. The business wasn't structured. I didn't have any employees. So 2018 from April to December was just getting the groundwork set up. And then 2019, we started really at year one as far as training and my own mind of statistics go. And the goal, as we had went along, my husband David and I set out to a 3-year plan where each year we just build on the last year, and we are exceeding our expectations of where we hoped to be at the end of 2021.
And you had a great 2021. Kind of the backstory, if people don't know, you spent 5 years with Chuck Simon and then 8 years with Chad Brown up in the New York circuit. But was that your circuit for him? I know he has horses all over the country, but was that your main circuit up in the Northeast?
I was Belmont based. I went down my last 2 winters working for Chad down to Florida, but the 6 years prior I took the undesired path and stayed at Belmont year round.
So Chad Brown, obviously Eclipse Award winning trainer. You were really close to Lady Eli. If people don't know, Lady Eli was a grade 1 winner at 2, 3, 4, 5. Have you kept up with her as a mommy? And what are your thoughts and remembrances of Lady Eli that you spent so much time with?
Well, I do keep up with her with the team at Hillendale. I'll ask. Right now, I believe she's over in Europe. Had a foal by Galileo. I saw her when she had her first foal, and I keep tabs on her. She's in a different career, in a different capacity, and obviously she's not here, so I can't go and visit her. But she's the biggest takeaway of a horse like her is the tenacity that they have. She really was a great filly to begin with, and then when she went through the laminitis episode, and to come back from that and really came back better than what she had left, which is something that is pretty much unheard of in other instances.
What was the biggest moment with her in your eyes? What was her biggest race that you remember that's kind of her marquee race in your eyes?
Really, there are so many.
Yeah.
The most emotional one was her comeback race, and she got beat. But to see her out there, it was emotional and competing. And then when she came back and she won at Belmont, it just, everything with her was a gift after just being able to come back to the races.
So let's talk a little bit about your stable now. You have a horse, Noble Mission filly I want to talk about, Gam's Mission, who's 4 years old. First time out, you run her a mile on the turf at Churchill as a 2-year-old, and you get beat that day at 42-1 by, of all horses, Aunt Pearl. Of all the maiden races I guess you could choose from, you run into Aunt Pearl. And for those who don't know, Aunt Pearl went on to win the Jessamine and the Keeneland and the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies and capped off her undefeated season. But you parlayed that one into her second start here at Fairgrounds earlier this spring in the March 21, the second start. What do you remember from that day? Because you bring her back going a route on the grass grass, and she gets up to win. And I thought that was really just kind of proved her worth in that race, beating that field she did on Louisiana Derby Day.
Well, it's hard with turf fillies. It's not, you can't develop them the same way as you develop dirt horses. There's not a lot of options. You either go 5.5 on the grass or whatever distance race they make with the condition for 3-year-old fillies on maiden special weight. So you're a bit beholden to the conditions. She always trained well. She just needed a little bit of time for some baby issues after her first start, and it was just logical. It really wasn't surprised. She had plenty of fitness underneath her. She didn't lose a lot of time from what she had some time off with, and she had the race under her belt and showed a lot of ability. So, we were excited. I was really excited for the Corbett's of Lazy F Ranch, and it was the beginning of a fun year with her.
And they never seem to better. They always seem to let her go off at a good price.
Yeah.
And she wins the Grade 3 Regret. So you got the Greatest Stakes win for her. Is she getting the winner off right now? What's kind of her plans for 22? She
just shipped in, actually this week, gave her a bit of a freshening from her race at Aqueduct where she ran 4th, but it was a really impressive 4th. She basically fell on her face coming out of the gate, settled, and closed really nicely into a paceless race. So, better to watch than it might seem on paper. And we're just pointing her towards the spring campaign. Nothing really targeting right now. She just came in, so we've got to get her back on track.
Tarabi took you to your first Breeders' Cup race as a trainer this past year. She was purchased for Pilgrim Racing. They paid really good money for her. She won at first asking at Ellis, was second in the Spinaway, and then parlays that into a nice 3rd place in the Juvenile Fillies. And I was joking with some friends when that Juvenile Fillies came out. I said, look at this race. I mean, everybody could be here at the fairgrounds that's running in this race, could be on the Oaks Trail come January. You gave her some time off. Is she going to participate in the 3-year-old filly series here, you think?
We're targeting the Rachel Alexandra. It seems to be the popular route for everyone coming out of that race, but she's scheduled to have her first breeze back this weekend, and we just have to go from there with her. She doesn't lose a lot of fitness. She's been jogging since the Breeders' Cup, so she really hasn't had a break to let down too much fitness-wise. So we're just excited to get her back, and we'll have to see if she really does want to go the 2 turns. She handled it well in the Breeders' Cup, but going from 2 to 3, she's going to have to continue to improve to be a top-level filly. Her full brother is a sprinter over in Japan, so it's always in the back of my mind to keep her at the distance that suits her the best and not just try to fit her into an Oaks Trail.
Right, so you could back, if she doesn't like the 2 turns, where you can back her up and run her in the sprints.
Plenty of great options for racing for her, especially over the summer, if she just wants to be a sprinter.
One of the most impressive horses I think we saw at your barn last year was a sprinter by the name of Tulane Trist. Broke maiden second time out at Fairgrounds on Louisiana Derby Day. That was a really salty maiden race. One of those races where some runners are going to come out of that race to do big things. Last time at Churchill back in November was very impressive too. $116,000 allowance races. I mean, it might as well be a stake. Mm-hmm. But that one went off under Brian Hernandez in 109-1. Is he back here now, and how is he doing?
Again, he's back here. He just had a little freshening of light training, staying jogging, galloping, and he's again scheduled to make the work tab towards the end of this week. And there's not a lot of options as far as sprint stakes. So if he clears the condition and continues to progress, and there's not too many options for him. So we're getting him back. We'll get an allowance race into him, and we'll just have to see how he moves from the 1X to the 2X, and then if he continues to develop stakes company for him.
So he's kind of the house horse, right? He's owned by your husband, David and Gordo. And for those of you who don't know, David and Gordo is one of the owners, but also has made quite a career for himself as a bloodstock agent, involved in purchasing Zenyatta, Honor Code. Lady Eli was part of that too, right?
He did. He had found her at the Keeneland sale.
We talked a little bit about that, but I heard he was in town. Some people saw him. How much did you guys get to spend down here during the winter? You get to spend some quality time down here?
We do. December, January, February are the quiet, and we're going to do air quotes around quiet months of our lives, where we have a few sales, but there's nothing labor intensive where he has to be away. When the 2-year-old sales start, he's in Ocala most of March and April. So, we come here and we work as a team. We both are understandable of each other's schedule, and it actually works for us. A little time apart, I think, is healthy
Sure.
in any relationship.
Yep.
But so he's down here, and he manages all of Belladonna horses, and we have our own stable. And it working marriage, all of it, as I think you either have to have one person who's not in it,
right,
or and follows along, or you have to have two really understanding, secure partners.
Yeah, I got you. Well, your husband isn't the only one in the family that you have part of the business. Your sister Adrienne is also working for you too. What has that been like to have her around all the time and working horses? And I heard she's a bit of a firecracker too, with a lot of energy.
Oh yeah, she's got probably a better sense of humor and is a lot more funny than I am. But I'm 16 years older than my sister, so it's a different dynamic than having somebody who's closer in age. It's really important to me to be a good mentor for her. I've come up and worked really hard and done things the hard way. When I worked for Chuck, I would gallop 10 a day and run the stable and really work really hard. And for her, I know she's going to hate if she ever heard me say it. It's more of a parenting mentor role of just making sure that she's learning things the right way and not just on the track, life lessons. Things can it's a hard life back here, so I just try to steer her and guide her in the right direction, not tell her, because if I tell her, she's going to just do the opposite, which I think parents with kids can probably relate to. So she's fun, she's young, she keeps everyone on their toes, and our family is a horse family. Our whole background is horse-based. My grandfather was a harness trainer, my dad was a harness trainer, my mom's always been involved, so the horsemanship part of it is something that we're going to just say was bred into us. We were raised on it. So as far as that aspect goes, she has it, and it's just she's 23 years old, and
fun times, 23 years old.
Oh yeah, especially here in New Orleans. I just tell her the one rule we have is no drinking and driving. So Uber or call, but that's my only rule with her, and she shows up to work every day with a good attitude.
Well, that's half of it, right? Showing up to work here at 5:00 in the morning.
That's all of it around here.
No doubt. Let's take a break right here. We'll come back on the other side. We'll talk about some more family. There's a horse Reagan's decision we're going to get in on, and also talk a few more things with trainer Cherie DeVaux. We'll be back right after this. Everyone likes to win money. If you bet on football, college, or NFL, you need to check out the newest and hottest website, meatandpotatoesusa.com. Meat and Potatoes has sports consultants who have documented success. You can buy their strongest picks on the weekend. This is not a gambling site, a site for you to get information to help you win money when betting on football. Check out my boy Tommy Krysan, TK on Sports. His podcast, Sports Betting, is exploding across the USA, and you need to check out meatandpotatoesusa.com for all the latest and greatest picks. Check them out right now, meatandpotatoes.com. History in horse racing means something, and the folks at Louisiana Craft Butchers can certainly tell you about horse racing in New Orleans. Another historic element in New Orleans is the food culture, and at Louisiana Craft Butchers, they specialize in delivering the perfect meats for all your needs, whether it is a tailgate extravaganza, watching football at home with friends, or holiday feast. Louisiana Craft Butchers offers it all, from boudin, hogshead cheese, and tamales, to selling over 20 different sausages, including the New Orleans favorite Palmisano homemade Italian sausage, which is a family recipe of Angelo Palmisano Sr. and his wife dating back to the 1940s. Don't take my word for it. Check it out for yourself. Louisiana Craft Butchers out in Kenner. Check them out at lacraftbutchers.com or give them a call, 504-466-9788. That's 504-466-9788 or online at lacraftbutchers.com. Fairgrounds Racing Podcast. Chad Scheck alongside trainer Cherie DeVaux, and we're talking about the Cherie DeVaux stable here at the Fairgrounds. And let's talk about a few more horses here. You got Reagan's Decision. Had to make Christmas a little bit better. Reagan is actually named after your stepdaughter, correct?
Correct.
David's
she named
daughter.
her herself.
She named her herself. Yes. That's not the only Reagan's horse that you guys have had.
No,
right?
she is Reagan's Edge.
Reagan's Edge, too. So Reagan's Decision pops first time out, win right after Christmas. There was a nice little TDN story about it, and I guess making it a little more special, I saw a tweet from you that said you guys were going to donate a portion of the winnings or the winnings to the relief efforts in Western Kentucky due to those tragic tornadoes they got. All around, that had just be a great day. Talk a little bit about Reagan's Decision and how she won that race.
So the beginning of Reagan's Decision is a bit more encompassing, where it was a 2 years ago daddy-daughter day at the sales, and Reagan went with the intention of looking at a bunch of horses, shortlisting, and picked out a group of horses that she wanted to bid on for herself, and we bought her, and it had to go to Lane's End Farm because that's where she wanted it to go. And, she was a demanding owner from the beginning. And we decided to keep her and not put her in the yearling sale or the 2-year-old in training sale. She was broke at Barry Eisman's farm, and she was in the same group with Tarabi, and he had always said your daughter's horse is showing the most right now. She's very precocious, very forward, big. She's a pretty imposing physical. And so Reagan actually, she's 3 for 3 as far as horse ownership goes with her horses. Their
expectations are high.
They at least have to win one, ran once and then won the second time out. But, she showed a lot, and I didn't realize her works are slow, but it's just the way that she does them, and that's the one thing that, if you're here on scene and watching the horses do it, you can probably find a couple more like her that have a price, especially in these maiden races where there's not a lot known on them. She just waited on her company. She's been pretty straightforward in her training. She just needed some time, again, baby stuff, just give them the time, and it rewards you in the end. And it was really fun because it was actually the first time Reagan herself has been on scene for one of her horses to win. Wow.
Well, she got she paid 18-1 that day, and I was joking about it because Mike DiLiberto, who's the clocker here, and I touched on that race on our podcast that week leading up to the card that day, and I said, you better watch these maidens from Cherie DeVaux. I said, they're very sneaky, and he says, well, the works really, they're good, but there hadn't been great on them, and I think he made the horse 8-1 morning line, maybe 10-1, something like that. And but the fact that you lured Brian Hernandez, he joked, he goes, well, if she's got Brian Hernandez, she must have told Frank Bernice a story about this one, and it shouldn't be overlooked. But you and Brian have had amazing success together.
Right, yeah, Brian actually won my first race ever, and just, we're going to note, and persistence and patience. It was almost a year to the day when it was 11 months shy of when I went on my own. It took me that long to win my first race. And Brian is great. The one aspect of any relationship is Brian is in all the places that I go to, Kentucky, the majority of the year, and comes down here. So he comes in the morning, helps with us. It's been a really good working relationship, and he listens when you tell him. With Tulane Trist, the horse is not easy to ride. He's a big bear, and he's fine if you can put him behind horses. And Brian has never been on the horse until he rode him at Churchill, and listens and really thinks about what you're telling him and tries to implement it either in the morning or in the afternoon. And it's been great. Brian's career is doing great right now. He's in a bit of a hot streak, and even all fall, Keeneland and Churchill. He's been doing great, and it's been fun to be a part of that with him.
Yeah, Brian's we had him on a podcast a couple of years ago here, and he showed up and he had his iPad with him, and he's looking. I said, "What do you do?" He goes, "I'm watching replays." I mean, he's prepared. I mean, he's prepared. I think he's underrated as a rider as far as maybe the national scene goes. But down here at the fairgrounds, I mean, guys, they know Brian Hernandez has live mounts. And I think the thing with Brian, too, is he always seems to be in the right position.
Right.
You don't see him checking in horses a lot of time. You don't see him getting in a lot of trouble. He usually gives the horse a pretty fair shot to win races. And that's all you can ask for when you're betting on him, too.
Well, and he has conversations. He rode Monition for me at Keeneland, and it was the horse's second start. And the horse is a bit quirky. And he said to me, well, there's no speed, so if I break, I'm going to go. And he did, and it made the difference. It's what won the race. And you can't fault any jockey who comes up with a plan, commits to it, and then if it works out. But, you know, the one complaint I think a lot of trainers has is if any rider goes out and they're just haphazardly riding the horse with no plan, it doesn't work. So if you don't go to the lead and you have to come up with another plan.
Mm-hmm. So every trainer has styles and tendencies that I guess handicappers look for and lean on. I think the stats say you're about 15% or so with your first-time starters, which is really good. But is that something you stress as a part of your training program to have them ready to roll first time out? Because not every trainer is like that. Some of them would take a couple races to kind of race their horses into shape, but is being noted as maybe a first-time starter trainer, is that a tag you welcome, or is like, hey, that's just part of my program?
It really is just part of how it sets up. We try not to send any horses out there that are not prepared, either from the gate, and a lot of times I expect horses to just have one race we can build forward from. What I don't want in my program or to be known for is they win first time out and that's their best day. We want them to be ready to run, prepared physically, prepared mentally, but really there's generally a plan of let's just run him, her, and have something we can go forward from. So, if it's a distance dirt horse and we're sprinting it, really the plan is really just to get the race into them and the experience. And a lot of the different farms that we use to get our horses prepared, they come in with a really good base and foundation, physically, mentally, from the gate. So it's a team effort from the very beginning. And in my own team, we don't push horses forward if physically, mentally, they're not ready to be pushed forward. So the takeaway, if you're looking at it, or from my standpoint, is I'm not trying to bring horses over here that are not prepared for it. Right. Because if one of them is, even if they're missing a work, I feel they're physically ready to do it and mentally, and especially the mentally part. If you're throwing too much at them to begin with, it's not going to do any favors going forward and for the longevity of the career of the horse.
Do you play the claiming game at all?
It's really not a strong suit of mine. I'm just going to be honest. If I have clients that want to claim, or David looks at the PPs, but I really don't do a lot of claiming. It's just not a strong suit of mine, to be honest, and it's not something that I look down on. Every trainer just needs to know their strengths and weaknesses, and I look, and sometimes I'll find a maiden or something that I maybe should be running a different style, or you try to pick apart. But the claiming game as a whole, I admire people who do it. It's just not something I feel is a strong suit of mine. I
wanted to get your perspective on this, because I think you come at it from a different angle, because you work for Chad Brown, who's considered one of these super trainers, right? Couple of 100 horses and training. He pulls from all over the place, has all kind of big time clients. And yourself, you're starting out, you got 30, 40 head. What is as far as the business goes and as far as horse racing itself, about these super trainers getting the majority of these horses, and you see them filling up the stakes races and all this kind of stuff? And I mean, look, it's been said over and over, you give a good horse trainer any kind of horse, they can make them great. But is that something that concerns you? Since you were into barn like that before, I'm just interested in your perspective on kind of the super trainers versus the small outfit kind of thing.
I am coming at it at a different angle as well, because I started working for Chad when he was on his way up, not when he was already there. And the one thing that gets overlooked when people say it, they're looking at it as a whole. The one thing you have to admire about Todd and Steve and Chad and any of those other quote-unquote super trainers, they worked hard to get where they are. They work hard to maintain their client relationships. Their staff works hard. And it was something that we were always, the other assistants and the ground crew were all proud of, is we were part of the building process. Now, as far as a business as a whole, I don't think there's a way, maybe I'm naive, I don't know there's a way to police how many horses a certain trainer has. Now, I know in Kentucky, stall space is limited, so one trainer cannot have 200 horses. Right. Other states, they have different facilities to be able to do that, and I think that the blame lays on some of the facilities managers. If you give them the ammunition to have all of it, to have all their horses in one place, and they're just running their horses in one place, it's something that each track has to look internally on. Right. In my opinion, as a whole, it's not the trainer's responsibility. Everyone has an opportunity, and everyone works really hard, and we all come in here, and I'm not saying one person's better than the other. I work just as hard as everybody else. Claiming trainers, people only have we all work hard. And it's the one thing I feel annoys the wrong word. The one thing that just hits wrong is that when they say super trainers, they're devaluing what has taken each individual person. Yeah. Correct. And there's a whole lot of people that worked hard. And as an industry as a whole, I don't think there's a fair way to cap it. I just think as facilities, some of the tracks need to take responsibility that they may have contributed to their own problem.
Let's talk a little bit more about what's in your barn these days. Speaking, we talked about some first out winners like Ray's Decision, but you have Salvage is back in this week. She's now a 4-year-old filly. She made 2 starts turf sprinting so far in her career, but she's been away since the stakes race at Keeneland last April. Is she going to run back this week, and what do we expect from her?
She is entered for Thursday, and she's ready to go. She's pretty aggressive in her training. She's in her training breezing and galloping. She's ready to go. I'm interested to see. Again, she won first time out. She ran at Keeneland, and she ran quite well, actually. And she's fast. So we just have to see if that translates in the afternoon. Again, I try to manage my expectations for myself and my clients, and it's really want to see her get out there. She's got to make the jump from last year to this year, and she should have a good showing. She should run well, but it's up to her.
The horse that did run well, Amici, was second in the Pago Hop here last month. Really was impressed with her effort. Is she going to stay on the same plan? You have the Marie Krantz, I know, coming up on the turf on the 22nd. Is that a logical spot that we might see her in?
It's logical, but I'm likely to skip that and just give her some more time. So now she's a 3-year-old going to have to face older horses. She's a beautiful filly out on the track. Physically, mentally, she handles it all well, but I think she could benefit from just a bit of a freshening. She just needs to fill in a bit more before I start running her against older horses and step up in the competition. I'm really pleased with her and how she came out of it. I just wanted to give her another time. So she'll run, in the February, the KG, yeah. Or it's some long name that I can't remember.
It's just the stake on Risen Star Day.
Yes.
One of the horses really has a cool backstory and just kind of shows your horsemanship, I think, is this 7-year-old Own Agenda who won here on December 18th. But, I mean, that win goes way beyond just a regular win, I think, for you. If there was a poster horse for being patient he might be the one. Tell us a little bit about him and some of the obstacles that you've had to overcome with him, and being a 7-year-old and winning, like, well, he's 7 now, but that win had to feel really good with Own Agenda.
Well, it does, and we bought him 2019, and we had a really good year with him. He was running on the dirt, running high 80s, 90 buyers, and competitive. Just didn't get to the wire first, and he would run in some really tough races. And he's a really cool horse. He's got a great attitude. He loves to train. He is really good. And we actually just gave him a 30-day freshening, and what happened was the first day he galloped, he got a beginning of a condylar fracture. And that was a series of things that none of it was a big deal, but it took 19 months to get him back to the races. Jeez. And I had always wanted to run the horse on the turf. He's bred for the turf, and the one thing in the back of my mind is Bill Mott tried him once. What am I going to do differently? And
Right.
when we had him and he was running competitively on the dirt, really couldn't make an excuse to switch surfaces.
Right.
So in June, when I finally had him ready to run, there was a turf race, and I secretly knew it was my opportunity to prove myself right about trying to switch surfaces. And he came off of that, a 19-month layoff, and ran like an 89 buyer. And I mean, just really proud of him for what he did. And along the time, I struggled, and David, and we had conversations, is, are you doing right by the horse? Because now he's older, and it's not, we don't need the horse to run for money. We want to do what's right for the horse. But every time we brought him back into training, he was forward. He loves to train. He breezes really well. He just, some minor physical ailments. He came out of the race, he popped a curb, something, again, that's a minor thing that just took some time to get him back from. And then the turf wasn't great at Keeneland, and I had an administrative issue up in New York. And so when it finally comes through, but now he's 7, and the horse physically is doing better than he's done throughout his year.
And he doesn't have a lot of tread on the tires for being a 7-year-old. He doesn't have a lot of tread on the tires.
Right, and we just let him set up. He was, just, he's set up, he's fine, he's sound, he moves well. And he's 7. He's lightly raced now for a 7-year-old.
Yeah.
And he's just happy to be there. So really, we're only going to run him if he wants to do it. And if there's a day he shows he doesn't want to do it, it's an easy decision.
Right. Masoni's a horse that ran second in the turf maiden special weight mile here December 2nd after debuting at Keeneland in a maiden special weight. I can't imagine this daughter of Flintshire is going to be a maiden much longer. How did she come out of that December race? And I think she's worked back since that other day. Do you have another, probably a maiden special weight in mind?
We're likely to run her in the beginning of February. We have to wait for that book to come out. She just needs a bit more time from her last race to this race. She's actually really well bred. The dam is a half sister to Scat Daddy, so her pedigree suggests, and physically she'll get better with time. So really, we're just trying to develop her along, and she's really a nice filly to train. She's forward, really lovely attitude, great on the track, and so her best days are in front of her, definitely.
Another filly, Love and Money. This one was 5th in the Panzeretta in her return. Do you keep her sprinting on the turf for now?
I do. She's really done that last race. I was just going to throw it out because she's got her 2 races on the turf are awesome. I'm not sure she shipped in the week of the race. Trained here, but it's a climate change, and fillies can be finicky about any type of change. So she's back training. She breezed last weekend. She's doing great. I'm likely to bring her back in an allowance race. She's got the 2X condition, and just make sure that she's doing well before we try her back at Stakes Company.
That Panzeretta race, did you roll your eyes at David because of the winner of that race? The winner of the race, Brooke Marie, trained by Eddie Keneally, bred by David and Gordo.
Oh, yeah. Well, I really, he's actually bred a lot of horses, so I don't, there's a lot out there, and then we see it, and it's never a bad thing, because it's better to sell them than keep them all.
You've been obviously across with Chad Brown at Derby, I imagine, in Oaks Day, but it had to be pretty special. Even though it was a September 2020 Kentucky Oaks weekend, you had Baroness. She got you there, albeit, like I said, weird sense of a year, but is it one of your goals, I guess? I mean, trainers come in, they want to win a Derby, want to win Breeders' Cup. Is that a goal that you set for yourself, an Oaks Derby kind of Breeders' Cup winning trainer?
It's a goal. It's a goal, I think, for every trainer to be able to participate competitively on those big days, the championship days. It's not the be-all, end-all. Baroness, manage, again, I really try to manage my own expectations. I knew she didn't have a shot to win the race. It was really just a weird year. There was a lot of speed. It set up like she could maybe hit the board, and it didn't work out. And she actually has come back this year as a really nice sprinter. She had won the overnight stake in Saratoga. And again, she's needed some time. She's just not the most straightforward horse to train. And if you don't give her the time when she needs it, it doesn't suit you to run her or keep her in training. So she's out at Barry Eisman's farm. I actually just spoke with him. She should come in here mid-month, and she's ready to go.
Okay. Might get a start here at Fairgrounds with her?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, well, hopefully.
That'd be great. Well, before there was a Reagan's Decision, there was a Reagan's Edge. This one, a 4-year-old filly sprinter. She's great at stakes place, 12 starts, 2 wins, 3 seconds, 2/3. Is she coming back for a 2022 campaign?
She's actually entered in the sale, this upcoming sale. She just didn't come back from her freshening from 3 to 4. Fillies do that. We really it's disappointing, to be honest. And she just didn't. She came back. She looks great. She's moving well. And all signs should point that she should have come back just as good as her 3-year-old year where she's running 90 buyers, and she's just not doing it. So unlikely. The Jacksons who have purchased her privately from us, we're all on the same page that she'd probably make a wonderful broodmare if somebody wants to buy her and try her. But we've tried to surface change. We've tried it, and there's really no excuses physically or anything we can see as to why she didn't come back from 3 to 4 as good as she left.
January 22nd card's a big day here. We start off the LeCompte Stakes with the 3-year-olds and a bunch of stakes races that day. I think there's 6 of them on the card. Got anything pointing toward those that big day?
We do own agendas down to run, and I'm so terrible because I don't remember all the stakes names because you guys have them.
Right.
They're so long.
They're a bunch
I have
of them.
him. I have a really nice filly that we own in partnership with Maggie Moss. Her name is Mercy Warren, that I'm a bit excited about running her. And
is she a maiden? Or?
It's going to be a first-time starter.
Okay.
She was entered to run at Churchill on the closing weekend, and she was sick the morning of the race. So she's coming back from that. And again, she may need a race, but I'm excited to get her started because she's been training quite well.
Good. All right, we got a few little rapid-fire questions here.
Okay.
Real quick here, you got gumbo or crawfish?
I don't eat either.
There you go. Seafood at all? Favorite seafood?
No, I like shrimp. I love the seafood down here. It's wonderful, but I don't gumbo and crawfish is the first thing. Now it's supposed to be rapid fire, but crawfish is the first thing I dissected, and I was a pre-med student, so back I just have it smells like formaldehyde whenever I see them.
The best excuse you heard from a jockey after a race. It doesn't have to be one of yours if you were as an assistant or whatever, but anything good after a race a jockey came back and told you?
No, but my favorite, I don't ever yell at him. I just tell him at the end of the career, it's not going to make your highlight reel.
Favorite track you've been to or you love?
Keeneland.
Bucket list track, is there one out there you haven't been to that you want to go to?
I've been quite lucky. I've been to most of them, but I would really love to go overseas and see some of the tracks over in France and England.
I'm surprised that, it's kind of off topic real quick, but I was surprised that Chad, when you were there, did he ever talk about going over there for Ascot? He don't really run. He don't take the horses over there. He'll get his horses from over there, but he never really runs at those kind of meets over there.
You know, you have to go with what you're comfortable with, and I'm not sure he's ever had something that he is comfortable enough sending.
Horse sales or homebreds?
Sales.
Sales for you. Sales family.
Yeah.
If you could change one thing about the game from a trainer's side, what would it be?
There's such a disconnect from each track administrative side, and I touched on it with Own Agenda. Every track is different, and there's no cohesiveness. So licensing, track rules, medication rules, entry rules, everything is different in every track, and that needs to change because I have owners that won't run in certain places because the administration is just a pain in the rear end.
Right. Well, I think that's pretty much all we got. Is there any other horses you're excited about? You mentioned the maiden coming up on January 22nd. Do you have some other maidens we're going to see before the end of the meet? Maybe some colts will get their chances here with you?
They're all in development. That really, the ones that are going to be running towards the end of the meet are just getting started. I have a Lord Nelson filly of all things. He's not really shown a lot as a stallion, but she trains really well. She's going to be on the turf. Her name is Rosia Bay. I have some 2-year-old or 2-turn-3 that are kind of getting ready to go. It'll be more towards springtime. With what we do and my clients, it's really just giving them the time to be their best self. So a lot of them we start on, if they need time, they go out. And then I've got a really exciting group of incoming 2-year-olds shaping up. So yeah, springtime's going to be a lot of fun.
No doubt. From here, for you, it's on to Keeneland, I imagine, and then Churchill for the spring?
Correct.
Are you planning on staying in Kentucky for the summer, or will you make a way up to Saratoga?
We have had luck with just sending a small string and shipping in to run and just keeping horses there that are going to run and pointed towards races. It's not something I target just to win races at Saratoga. It's a case-by-case basis. So we'll definitely have a showing at Saratoga.
Well, for everybody listening, you can follow Cherie DeVaux on Twitter, Rere DeVaux, Rere DeVaux on Twitter. How do you feel about Twitter? Do you do a lot of tweeting? I saw you had a video the other day, but I get my news from Twitter. I use it kind of as a news source pretty much. Is you more of a Twitter person than a Facebook or Instagram person?
I think all of it in a cohesive group and sense. I don't really share a lot personally of my life. I keep that to myself. Most of the time I might share a little something, but I think as an industry, we owe it to the fans to give a little insight and positivity. There's a lot of things that are said that are negative, and it doesn't have to be thrown in your face. I kind of cringe when something happens and everyone wants to throw the I love horses every day. You can come in my barn. You can see I might be yelling at a groom or something, but the horses are cared for and they're loved, and that's the majority. That's not the minority here. No doubt.
Well, listen, Cherie, we appreciate you joining us. Best of luck in 2021. Continued success here at the fairgrounds, and look forward to big things from the Cherie DeVaux stable this year.
Thank you so much.
That'll do it for this edition of the Fairgrounds Racing Podcast. Be sure to keep checking back for more interviews, news, notes, and more on my Twitter, Shex Nola, and we will definitely have an episode for you guys the week of January 17th, leading into the road to Derby Kickoff Day, January 22nd, where 3 graded stakes races, 6 stakes races overall across all divisions, and it's looking like we're going to see Midnight Bourbon and Mandaloun on that card as well for the Grade 3 Louisiana Stakes. So that should be a pretty fun day. Till next time, everybody,